Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. I'm your host, Dylan, along with my cousin and co-host,
Gab.
And today we are joined by a special guest. I'm going to get straight into it. We're talking about 2008 movie Wall-E. I'm going to introduce our guest, Mark.
Hello, my name is Marc Aquino. I am a nobody from New Jersey, and I'm just happy to be here.
See, now I
Mark,
feel like I have to give the thing that Kyle says from the film realist. You are the nobody who's hopefully for somebody.
oh, that's such a nice. That's
Thanks.
nice.
I
was going to tell Mark about how when I was a little kid, my parents told us, meaning me and Dylan and Zach, that we didn't have to be afraid of monsters because all the monsters live in New Jersey. Can you confirm or deny that this is true?
Depends on the monster.
Well, the ones I was afraid of apparently reside in New Jersey, so I don't have to worry.
Yeah, it depends on which part you're in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think they're probably more shoreline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Jersey Shore is not. It's not what you see on MTV, and it's not all glitzy, glamoury. No, there's an underbelly to it, but
I imagine it's more what you see in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's actually closer to that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So
you don't get that reference. Don't act like you get that reference.
I don't,
You haven't watched
but
It's Always Sunny yet.
I'm desperately trying to move us along, Dylan. That was cue for okay. So, let's talk about Mark and let's talk about Wall-E.
All right.
So we're gonna get into what's it about really quick. I want to ask the both of you, how old were you the first time you saw this movie? Because I feel like that has an impact on your viewing experience.
Okay, Gab, you go first.
Yeah, I saw it in the movie theaters when it came out. So in 2008, I was 16.
I was probably like 17 or 18. Mark, I'm assuming you're a little bit younger than us. Did you see this in theaters?
Yes, I did. I was 12 at the time.
Okay.
This was, I every Pixar movie, I always make sure to see opening day. In case this doesn't get brought up later, I am a huge Pixar fan. In fact, let me show you something. I got myself prepared for today. Doing the audience can't see it, but I'm doing a quick change. Go there.
Oh, wow. It is a zip up that says Pixar.
Yeah, so there's a little story behind this. So I think it was around 1995. They just finished Toy Story, and they had a big wrap party at Pixar headquarters, and one of the gifts that people got were these Pixar jackets, these little track jackets. I think it was around cut to March of 2020. We had just gone in lockdown. I was scrolling through eBay and I found this, and I'm like, "You're mine." So this is my my lockdown birthday present to myself. So
nice.
Yeah, no,
nice.
I love it. I love it. It shows how much of a geek I am. It shows how much of a nerd I am. And don't worry, Gab, you can beat me up for my lunch money all you want. I'll Venmo you my lunch money. How about that?
Thank you. That's all I need to hear.
This was like $200, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
I've spent more on less. And that's why I'm broke and I need you to Venmo me.
Exactly.
That's why I'm soliciting Venmos from my podcast audience. Very cool. All right. So you're really big into Pixar. You saw this movie when it came out opening day, and it had an effect on you, obviously, which is why we're talking about it all these years later.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would say, especially over the last couple of years, the older that I've gotten, I've started to appreciate it even more so. Given a lot of the themes, the way the movie looks, it very much visually it stands apart from a lot of what Pixar has done before and since. It's a very unique film in their catalog, and there's just something about it that you just kind of you always like, and I feel like that happens with a lot of their films. You always pick up on something new with every rewatch.
Yeah. Before we get too far into that, let's start with the basics, just in case we've got listeners that haven't seen it, which I find hard to believe, but let's assume, or let's not assume. Why don't we start with Mark? Give us the very succinct, like 1 to 2 sentence, what's this thing about? And let's see how it stacks up to IMDb.
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
In a dystopian future, a robot, the last functioning robot on Earth, dreams of love and happens to come across a different robot that's searching for plant life, and all sorts of romance and ecological hijinks ensue.
Okay.
Not that far off. Like when you started that, because I do have the IMDb plot summary in front of me. I was thinking, has he memorized this? So the IMDb plot summary is: in the distant future, a small waste collecting robot inadvertently embarks on a space journey that will ultimately decide the fate of mankind, which I feel like makes it more about this rescue mission for mankind than it does about the love story, which the meat and potatoes of Wall-E, I feel like, is about the love story.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. The the whole space, the space adventure, that's just kind of the window dressing, really. The thing that really hooks people in, and especially myself as well, is the budding relationship between Wally and Eve. So yeah.
Now,
Okay.
I want to, I'll save this for opinion time, as you were.
Okay.
That's right, because you're going to hear some goddamn taglines first. Don't think you're getting out of it. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
boy, here we go. Unlike
After
Gab, I love a good tagline.
I love a good tagline.
There's no such thing as a good tagline. That's the
That's not
problem.
I disagree.
I also do.
Respect.
After 700 years of doing what he was built for, he'll discover what he's meant for.
A bit wordy, but not bad.
I liked it. The newest sensation in waste allocation.
Like that.
That feels Disney.
Okay.
Yes.
I like the first one more. In space, no one can hear you clean.
Oh.
I mean, obviously, the kids aren't getting that one. The kids aren't dressing up as Tug Speedman for Perham anymore, and they're not getting that tagline. I'm so glad you both got that. Okay.
That was a good one.
He's got a lot of time on his hands, which, okay, that's just a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An adventure beyond the ordinary. And it spells
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
from the humans who brought you Finding Nemo and Ratatouille.
Shut up.
Yeah, that's a basic one, but there's some good ones in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
That
We
one
get
is
a lot
fine.
of trash ones, especially kids' movies. I feel like are the bottom of the tagline dumb, and these were good.
Yeah, pretty much. Like there are some, especially even with Pixar. There are, Pixar, as great as their movies are, a lot of their taglines can be kind of, but it's like you kind of have to get past that in order to be like, oh no, this movie's great. So
Yeah, I've never seen a movie poster and been like, I'm not seeing that. That tagline is terrible. It just kind of goes without saying the tagline is terrible. Okay. What do we do now?
Well, we can get deeper into what's it about, but I feel like in our opinions we can talk more about what it's about, because I feel like on its surface that one sentence version does the job of telling you what this movie's about. So if you haven't seen it, that was your spoiler warning. Go watch it. It's on Disney Plus, very easy to access. And I would say in our opinions we can get into more of the not so subtle subtext of the movie and that like secondary plot line and I guess the darkness in this very light movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
So
cool.
let's go to our opinions.
In this critic's opinion,
That's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
I'd like to start with a question.
sure.
This has been weighing heavily on me since I watched this film, and that is, even though the female robot's name is Eve, Wally continues to say Eva, which sounds to me like Eva. So my question for both of you is, has anybody ever called you by the wrong name, and how long did you let it go? Or have you ever called somebody by the wrong name, and how long until you realize you were calling them the wrong name?
I've definitely have unfortunately done that with some people, but like people have called my name. People have said my name incorrectly so many times. If I had a
Wow.
nickel for every time someone mispronounced my last name,
Oh,
I'd be, I'd be richer than I'd be as rich as Bob Iger. So it's like I would get, like, for context, my full name is Marcos Francisco Aquino the third. I've gotten Marcos Aquino, Marcos Aquino. In fact, very recently, I had to, for my college graduation, I had to have the person calling out people's names. I had to spell my name out phonetically just so they could say it properly this time. So
wow.
yeah.
Damn. I've gotten Gabe, which is strange because that's a man's name. Sometimes at Starbucks they'll really butcher it. But I think I'm more likely to call somebody by the wrong name. And I work in an industry where I just see a lot of people all the time. And I'll like look at a class roster and I'll look at someone and be like, "Hey, Nicole." And they're like, "Hi, I'm Sarah." And I'm like, "Well, so you're Nicole now." I don't know what to tell you.
You look like
I'm
Nicole.
bad. Yeah, I'm really bad.
I've got two. I've got one where I've made the mistake, and I've got a recent one where someone else has made the mistake. So, first, my wife's name is Giselle. Giselle. For the first like 4 years of us knowing each other, I was calling her Giselle, like the bank payment thing, Zelle instead of
Yeah.
Giselle. And
Oh,
it wasn't
that's
until
how I say it.
yes, it wasn't until several years into knowing her that she finally was like, kind of saying it wrong. I was like, excuse me. But I was like, what do you mean?
So you were firmly in a relationship.
I want to say that we were, yes, in a relationship before she ever corrected me on it. And
That's
this is
crazy.
after being friends for years. The more recent thing where somebody messed it up was on last Sunday when we're recording this was Mother's Day. And I made a reservation. We all went out. And I went into the restaurant and I said, reservation for Dylan. And they went, could it be under Deborah? And I'm like, no. And they went, do you have the phone number? I went, sure. I give them my cell. And they go, oh, we have you here under Tillin. And I'm like,
No.
excuse
What?
me? So the person over the phone heard Tillin and assumed I'm going with that? That's the name?
Wow.
So
My favorite is what grandma calls you or
Oh.
called you.
well, grandma's called me two different things. My grandma's called me Dennis. There's no
Mhm.
Dennis in our family. It just became my name.
Dennis.
So she just went with it and rolled with it. Then we had a dog named Diesel for years, and she just started mixing the two up. So she would say, oh, where's, my mom's name is Carrie. Where's Carrie? Oh, she's out walking Dylan. You know what I mean? Or, oh, Diesel, he's at college right now. That type of thing. So there was a lot of errors. My grandma has a hard time with the names. As we said before, Sigourney Weaver to my grandma is Sabina McKenna. Cuba Gooding Jr. Do you remember, Kev?
Gooba gooba.
Gooba Gooba. And I'm sure she's made a thousand more mistakes with that. The one that comes to my mind actually is I went to Quinnipiac for my undergrad, and I remember there was one day where she called it Tinnaminninanook, which not very close, but I somehow
What?
deciphered what she meant.
Say it again. Say it again.
Tinnaminninanook.
Is your grandmother friends with John Travolta? Because he calls Adina Menzel Adele Dazeem. So.
Yeah.
You know what? She was Adele Dazeeming way before Travolta was.
There you go.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
she inspired him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is your
Let's see.
grandmother in
Brilliant.
Scientology? You might want to look into that.
Yeah,
I hope
honestly.
not.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah, I felt for her because she was really going out of her way for this guy who couldn't even really call her by the right name, and it was a little like, well, by the end I was like, well, what is her name? Is it Eve or is it Eva? Who's right here?
Do you want me to explain that?
Is there an explanation or is the answer just Eve?
No, there is an explanation. Both of their names are standing for something. I feel like Mark knows.
Yeah, it's an
They
acronym.
stand for something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you what they stand for?
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
You can try.
Ecological variant. I still don't know if it's an E or an A. So it's the point is moot. And then waste allocation.
Legume?
You
Lobster?
know what I was thinking all morning, Dylan? Tea. from Easy A. I don't know.
Mark, do you know what they stand for?
Ooh, oh man, it's been a while since I memorized it.
It's tough. It is like a trivia question, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. I believe the W and the A, I think, are waste allocation, location, or locating, launch, not launch. Damn.
Dylan, why don't you just tell us?
Yes.
Okay.
Save
Wally-
me. Throw me a life preserver.
Wally is waste allocation, load lifter, Earth class.
Yeah, that's right.
And
there you go.
Eve is extraterrestrial vegetation evaluator.
Oh,
Right, yeah.
Interesting. So does Wally have a speech impediment, or does he not know her name?
I think he's doing the best he can.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been on Earth all alone for hundreds of years. His circuitry isn't exactly top notch.
Sure.
He's just going at it day by day. As we all are.
Which we
Yeah.
find it. I find it really cute when he puts the new treads on in the beginning, because it's like he's replacing his socks or shoes, that type of thing.
Yes.
I find it a little freaky when he replaces his own eyeball. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Although one can make the argument that because he took those new treads off of a different Wall-E model, so I'm like, is he stealing from the dead?
Yes, he is scavenging dead bodies.
He's a grave robber.
Yeah.
Everyone needs their hobby.
So outside of my question about the names, I'm gonna be honest with you. My very first thought about 10 minutes into this movie or so, maybe a little bit more, was what a fucking bummer. What a bummer.
I don't find it to be a bummer.
That's
Really?
fair.
You
I
didn't
will
think it was
say-
a total fucking bummer?
No, and
I'm
I
not
really
saying the
respect
whole
the fact
movie.
that the first like 20 to 30 minutes are mostly silent. And I find that very
Yeah.
ballsy for a kid's movie to be like, sit with mostly silence and noises. You know what I mean?
Okay,
There's no
but we're not
dialogue
talking about
driving it.
that. We're talking about the fact that Earth is a wasteland full of garbage. It felt very much like they were in New York City. And
Damn.
it just felt like a bummer.
I feel like it's more of a bummer once you're with more of the people and you see what humanity's become.
Well, I can't
Well,
wait
I
to get
think-
into that.
I think to Gab's point, it feeling like a bummer. Like I feel like that's the sort of thing that you wouldn't really notice like as a kid when you watch it for the first time. But like again, the older you get, you're like, oh no, this is actually way more like heavy than they're really saying.
Yeah.
And it says it all purely through visuals. You zoom in from the Earth all the way into what Gab says, what looks to be like New York City, and you have these like skyscrapers that are like basically like nothing but like these trash cubes that Wally puts together, and the environment is so like inhabitable that like it is kind of a bummer. But again, as a child watching this for the first time, you wouldn't exactly pick up on that.
Yeah.
Presumably also, I feel like it just occurred to me that he's probably been doing it. All the Wallies were probably doing this since humanity left. So he's probably been doing that for 700 years.
700 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you think the cockroach has been there?
Oh, I'm guessing that cockroach has been there longer. Those things.
Let's see how long they live. How long?
They survive everything, but I don't think their lifespan is that long, is it?
Well, I'm about to tell you because I'm Googling it. Anywhere from a month to over a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they just reproduce like crazy, I would guess.
Yeah, oof. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Yes. Only in animation also can you make cockroaches adorable. Like he's very cute, his little cockroach friend. But in reality, I've never seen a cockroach and be like, oh, how cute.
No,
Yeah.
never. You know what though? I felt that way about mice and rats.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, mice I think are probably like easier to be like, oh, that's so cute. But like when I see a rat, like when I'm in Philly, scurrying through the Broad Street line, I'm like, yeah, no, that ain't cute.
I stepped on a rat recently. Have I shared that with you?
You did. You mentioned that during The Great Mouse Detective, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was horrendous. I hope he's okay. Hope he's doing well. Hope his family is good. Okay, so the cockroach has been around for a while. I really okay. So you may have this information. It may be part of a fact, but again, something that was going through my mind the first 20 or so minutes. Hello, Dolly. Have you seen it? Do you like it? Was that Dick Van Dyke?
No, not Dick Van Dyke.
Damn it.
Yeah, not Dick Van Dyke. I've not seen Hello Dolly though.
It's been a couple of years since I've seen it for like a college class, but I have seen Hello Dolly. It's fine.
It's
as far
fine,
as like
right?
those kinds of like extravagant musicals from like the 50s and 60s, it's fine. Although it was like the last one of those, but that's a whole other like subject.
Yeah. I would have preferred Wally watching something a little bit more, I don't know, not Hello Dolly. What would you have preferred?
I think that is perfect. I'll let you think about that for a second, but I think that is absolutely perfect as it is. Because I think the way that this movie, I can't even think of what songs it plays from Hello Dolly, but it's the way that it emphasizes the hand holding, and it makes the idea of romance to Wally is just to hold hands. And it works perfectly. Like if it was actually a romantic movie where it became about a kiss or
Like deep, yeah.
Yeah, any more adult version, that wouldn't matter. It's the simple romanticism.
Yes,
and I think it's
exactly
adorable.
Also, I love when Wally dances with the trash can hat. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
He memorized those moves. He has
But hear me
plenty of
out.
time to do it.
And when he
It's
wears a
true,
bra
he
as
had
a
700
hat,
years
as
of
we all
practice.
have.
Of course. Now, here's the bra that was. No, it was sunglasses, right? It was like they were over his eyes. Now, hear me out. What if Wally were watching Fiddler on the Roof? Okay, just sit with that for a second. And he was shimmying.
But he
I
would
just
never
think-
get Eve because he's not a rich man.
No.
Well, but if he were a rich man, think about he'd have all the treasures that he had,
And then
He could
all
have been
day
a rich
long,
man.
he'd divvy dum.
Exactly.
I mean, he already has a lot of stuff as is. I mean, that kind of trailer container place that he lives in. It's like he's a hoarder essentially.
Oh yeah. Big time. Class A. And then he could have went into Shixagatis about Eve, but I'm just saying. Anyway, moving on. I have very little else to say about the beginning. So somebody take it away.
Well, since Mark mentioned his little hoarding, his collection of trash, to start skipping around to different places, there's a moment at the end, and it does such a good job of building up that is Wally's little home, because we also have a moment where he brings Eve in there to protect her from the elements, and we see him there a couple times, but it does such a good job of making us concerned for him, because I'm going to be honest, Wally almost made me cry. When we think his mind has been like wiped, and everything is just trash to him again. So Eve is bringing him back to his little home on Earth, and she's trying to, show him the things that he enjoyed, like his light bulb or whatever. And instead of the lighting in it and showing it to Eve the way he did before, he puts it in himself as trash. And it fucking broke me. I was like, I think I wrote it down somewhere that it was like, the system is broken, Wally, just like it's broken us all. Like, I was like, no. And thank God he ends up okay. I don't know how he does, but thank God he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a few moments like that. I kind of I have a lot more to say about humanity. So if we want to wrap up the wasteland that is Earth.
Well, real quick, I'll say I watched this movie on Monday. I also happened to go to the dump on Monday because I had to get rid of a couch. And you know what? It was weirdly accurate. I just felt so weird being like, wow, this is like where I just was.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for a lot of their movies, like the Pixar folks, they tend to like do like research trips to places if they're looking for inspiration. So I have to imagine that the animators went to a whole lot of dumps for just for like visual reference.
It also makes me think Wally must smell terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have Wally cleaned. That's gonna take a while. So
yeah.
Yeah. Also, so what was he doing? He was just compacting the trash and making it into a new city where they were going to live, or it kind of didn't matter because they had abandoned. So he was just dicking around, basically, because all the other Wallies were dead.
Well, I think it was just to make things look more orderly.
Yeah, I think it's if there was trash spread everywhere, he was collecting it into parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so
But, like,
so it could be like easier for people to like move around, even though there's no people to move.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like we come to find, spoiler, 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 that they abandoned mission go back home to Earth. So
Yeah.
they had no intention of going back. So what was he? I guess what I'm asking is, were all of the other Wallies dead because they didn't bother to like repair them because they had given up? So Wally's the only one on the planet doing this work?
I think he's the last one left, and I think he's the only one who has found a way to. We see that he uses solar charge to keep himself going, and I don't know if all the Wallies did that because we see he's replaced parts on himself, he's made improvements, but he is the last remnant of the Wally society.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
You know, maybe he was just more clever than the rest of them.
So interesting. Okay.
At least that's how I see it.
Here's a question. By and large, do you guys think it's supposed to be Costco or Walmart?
Walmart.
Both.
It feels like, just based on the idea of buy giant amounts of everything, I'm like, oh, it's Costco. But just on pure size of corporation, I'm like, if any corporation is going to take us over, it's probably Walmart. I wish it would be Target at least, because at least that's better. But yeah, I guess it would be Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least Target's a little cleaner.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Everybody
we
feels
don't have
better about Target.
Walmarts here, but we do have Target.
You don't have Walmart?
Mm-mm.
I
No,
feel like that can't be
not
true.
one. Google it, bitch. Not one.
I am Googling this. There's
I
not
actually-
a single Walmart in New York City?
No, I used to have a roommate who had a car, and we would drive to Walmart in New Jersey. There's Costco and plenty of Targets.
Very
Yeah,
interesting.
There's a Walmart that's like right down the street from where I am. And like that, I would go there. I mainly just kind of go there to like pick up like photo orders, and you know, especially when it's around like 9:30 at night, you really get the interesting crowd.
Yeah. One of my fondest memories from high school was driving to the Walmart parking lot where one of the glass doors, like the automatic sliding doors, was broken, and just watching people walk directly into it.
There's an
Yeah.
employee at the Walmart by me who I just find him very fascinating. He like wears a mask, but not like a medical mask. Like he's a cowboy vigilante type mask. It's like a bandana he's wearing.
Yep.
And he has this it's sort of a beard, but it's the width of a goatee. Like it's just this long.
Oh, yep.
And I'm like, what's going on there? Like, why is this the style you've chosen? I'm so curious. I'll never have the gall to ask him about it, but it's very intriguing to me.
Yeah. So is it a fashion?
Why you want to hide that goatee, man? Show it off.
Yeah.
He has the full beard, but
Full
then
coverage.
only down here at his chin does the hair just go all the way down.
So I don't remember where we came across this person, but fairly recently, within the past couple of months or so, Corey and I ran into somebody like that. I don't remember where, I don't remember in what context, but this person's beard was dreadlocked. It was just like that. It was just like straight down, but it was a dreadlock.
Was he white?
Oh, fuck. I don't remember. I think so.
If he was white, then yeah, no.
I think he was. But Corey will remember. He's at work right now, but I think he was white. Okay. So speaking of white people, here's a question.
That could
So I
go
thought it
anywhere,
was-
that segue.
Oh yeah. I thought this was really interesting. All of the people on the spaceship. So the idea is Earth became uninhabitable. So by and large created this spaceship where they were supposed to go for 5 years while the Earth got cleaned up, and surprise, they've been there for 700. And on this spaceship, you don't have to work. You don't have to do anything. Everything is taken care of for you. It's like a cruise ship, but forever. And my question is, the population on this ship is nowhere near the population of Earth. right? And there's definitely diversity on this ship, right? It's not just white
Yeah.
people. There's plenty of diversity that we can see surface level.
Yeah.
But my question is, am I just supposed to suspend my disbelief and think that everyone on Earth is on that ship, or at least the descendants of everyone who ever was on Earth? Or did we leave a certain amount of people and presumably like a socioeconomic class behind that died on the uninhabitable planet?
I thought they showed multiple ships taking off at some point, didn't they?
Yeah, multiple ships, I believe.
So everybody got to go.
It's implied that pretty much everyone left Earth. And
Do you think it was by country?
Maybe. I think if you kind of read between the lines, I would say for the most part, yes. I mean, the fact that the one ship remained, the Axiom, I mean, you can assume that's the American ship.
I was gonna say, are they still skinny on the other ships? They're just running on a treadmill. It's just the
right.
American
exactly.
ship. It's like
That's how
yeah.
you know that. In fact, that's why all the other ships that's probably why they all died out, is because the ones that were obese, they somehow survived, whereas all the ones that are fit, maybe they killed each other. We don't know.
Could be. Okay, interesting. Yeah. It definitely brought up the thought of like, so what happened to everybody else kind of thing.
Yeah, I do think you're just not supposed to think further outside of it than like, here's our ship, here's our one goal. I do remember thinking the first time I saw this, how interesting it was. And this is, 2008 is still the days of like, is that even Facebook yet, or is that still MySpace?
Facebook is still there, but like MySpace, it's like Facebook was just starting to come in while MySpace was starting to slightly come out.
Well, I feel like this was ahead of the curve already with just the amount of focus and attention on screens, and the fact that only two people are like hit into by Wally, and they're like, oh yeah, there's other things happening in the world. And like, you look at what's the new Apple eye glasses product. It's called something other than that. But
Google Glass, I think it is.
Well, there's Google Glass.
Apple has a $3,000 thing they just put out though. Apple Vision Pro.
That's it. Yeah.
And Apple Vision Pro is the closest we've come to like, we're trying to be the Wally Society, because it's literally just this giant thing you're wearing directly over your eyeballs.
Yeah.
And by that point, you're not actually interacting with the world at all. And I love me some screens. Like, if I'm not looking at my screens working, I'm looking at my screens for recreation. But I also, once in a while, go outside and, as the kids say, touch grass.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting? I don't remember where I heard this from, but I heard somebody talking about developing like movies or television shows or something, and kind of being in the like writing room and talking about like something needing to be entertaining enough for second screen, because they're assuming that you're looking at your phone and that's in the background.
That's a major streaming thing now.
I think that was Quibi, and look how that turned out.
Well, I think all the streaming services factor that in now. I believe I've heard Netflix talks about that for sure. The idea that they are second screen entertainment,
Yeah.
Which, it's sad, but it's true in a lot of cases, that there's a lot of the time where if it's not something I'm watching for the first time, I'm probably doing this at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's hard for me sometimes, like, not to sound like this kind of person, but even like watching movies for this podcast, I have to really like make it a point to put my phone down and focus, because even if it's not like me scrolling Instagram, it's very easy to like, oh, I got to send an email. I got to like write this text message. Like, I've recently started to realize how even when I'm not working, I'm always chipping away at a to-do list, or I'm always like, oh, I got to send this email. I got to do this. I got to send this Zoom link. I got to answer this message. Oh, I got to confirm with this client. Like, having your phone, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get on a soapbox, but having your phone just like be a part of your life, I am never not working. And I'm starting to feel like, am I depressed? Like, am I just, I shared something really funny on Instagram not that long ago. And it said, does it get better? No worries if not. I'm like, that's me.
I feel that. I definitely feel that.
It definitely feels like with our phones and with those screens that it's so difficult to disconnect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do think there's something funny. This has nothing to do with the movie, but as our attention spans get shorter and shorter as we watch TikToks and Reels, or whatever the Facebook version of TikToks and Reels is, as we do that, movies, ironically, I feel like are getting longer and longer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like you think
Yeah.
But I
about,
don't want
what was
that.
it? Napoleon came out
I
and
don't
that
mind
was
it.
3
I mean, it
hours.
depends on the movie.
It depends. It does depend on the movie. The movie should be good, but I feel like even the average movie now is 2 hours plus, which, if you listen to this podcast, if there's one thing that Gab respects, it's brevity in film. And
Brevity.
I do think that's something that's gone by the wayside. I was reading something about even Law and Order today, how it's saying how after a certain year, I think it's probably after like, season 15, 16, you're probably coming around the time this movie came out, actually, that they start relying more on two-parters and on season-long arcs. And I think maybe it's because of the fact of streaming's rise and the fact that you don't technically have a requirement to be a certain length anymore, that you see less need for that economy of writing. You know what I mean? That need to
Yeah.
say what you want to say, but say it as quickly and in as little amount of time as possible. Because if this movie was 2.5 hours, we'd probably get sick of Wally. But the fact that this movie is, like an hour and 45 minutes, you are left probably wanting more. I want to see if they ever grow that pizza plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mark, are you a Disney World guy? Do you go to Disney? Have you been to Disney?
I have only been to Disney World twice, unfortunately.
How a long time ago?
The last time I was there was 2014. So
Oh, same actually. Me
Yeah.
too. Because so I'm gonna go ahead and get into another opinion if that's okay.
No, please go ahead.
Thank you. I thought it was extraordinarily interesting that in 2008, it was kind of okay to depict these people who are lazy and not doing anything and not paying attention at all and just being very like void of interest or personality as being obese. Because I read a lot of hate on the internet about the fat phobia of this film. And I was wondering if Wally is like a character that is heavily whose image is heavily displayed in Disney, if that's like a character that children love. Do they sell the plushes? Does he have like a part of Disney World? Or have we sort of backpedaled from this because of the backlash it received? Because I don't know if you're familiar, but there is a humongous side of the internet that is very anti-Wally because of the quote unquote fat phobia in the film, which I can get into my thoughts on, but I want to hear what you guys think.
I don't think I don't think Disney's backpedaled from Wall-E. I mean, the movie was very popular. It made a lot of money when it came out. It was nominated for a couple Oscars. It's still it's like especially in terms of like Pixar's library, like it's not as touted publicly as say Toy Story or Cars or Monsters Inc. or Nemo or The Incredibles. But it's still popular. Like I see every now and again like little Wall-E trinket toys at places. Like they've made like Wall-E and Eve Funko Pops, and they like I think I saw even like as recently as like last year like specialty clothes lines of like where it's like men's short sleeve button up shirts, but it's like with like patterns of like little bits of like Wall-E and Eve like kind of pattern all over the shirts. So it's still a fairly popular character. If anything, I feel like more people don't really like highlight the fact that like, despite the fact that this movie was, bankrolled by like the corporation to end all corporations, it's very like anti-capitalist.
Yeah. I do think also somewhat because of that message that I feel like it's not as ripe for merchandising. Like it also didn't have a story.
I think it's also because Wall-E is cute. They made Wall-E cute, and that sells, especially with Disney. If it's cute, we're putting it on everything.
Yes.
Everything.
But I do feel like it wasn't as ripe for spin-offs and sequels, and it didn't go in as many directions. Whereas Cars, you have Cars 2, Cars 3, Planes, Toy Story, you got 4 of them, plus you got the shorts on Disney Plus and stuff like that. I don't think it was as easy for that. Similar to Up, which is another really good Pixar movie that I think didn't have as much room for sequels and other stories. They still have, I think it's called Doug Days on Disney Plus, which
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do see
Pretty
what
fucking
you're talking
adorable.
about, Dylan. That Wally, I think this was kind of by design. It's a very open and closed story. Like
yes.
it would be tough to like come up with like a story to continue it, because like what would that even be? Like, it just wouldn't. There's not much room to like what else is there to say?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, pizza plant. But anyway. So I want to hear everybody's thoughts on the fat phobia.
I don't mind it.
Wait, hold on. You don't mind the fat phobia, or you deny that there is any?
I don't mind the fat phobia. Because it was it was made to prove a point. I mean, it's very simplistic, but the message, I think, it carries the message through very effectively, in a sense where it's like, okay, how do we show that humanity is like so far gone? Well, and what would they be like away from Earth, thousands of years from now, surrounded by technology that basically does everything for them? Oh yeah, no, they would just be, large and lazy.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially
People didn't
given
like that.
how, the level of obesity that has grown, especially in America, as time went on, even after the movie came out, that still hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I've never thought of the movie as
Dylan?
fatphobic. Like, I think it's just literally saying what would happen if humans were given not great food to eat, cupcake in a cup. I'm sure it's delicious, but it doesn't seem like it's nutritious. Which at some
Yeah.
point they've definitely run out of food, and like that cupcake in a cup, there's definitely, this isn't my pitch, but there totally is a Soylent Green version of this where they're like, cupcake in a cup is people. It's people. Like,
Cupcake in a cup is people.
yeah, that's definitely what would happen to humanity if you no longer need to move and you're just given all the food you want and you don't do anything. Of course. I don't think it's fatphobic.
That explains why there weren't as many people in the Axiom. Why else do you think, the amount of humanity has shrunken?
Yeah, 100%. Also interesting, like, people are clearly not having sex with each other. So where'd all these babies come from?
I imagine that there's some robots doing that work too for them.
Woof. Yikes. So
That's
I'll
the
say
side.
this.
That's the side they don't want you to see.
Look, for lack of a better term, fat people still fuck. So
Well, yeah, but not these fat people. They didn't even know they had a swimming pool.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Can we talk about something with the swimming pool?
Yeah.
So this movie does such a good job of, the robots are more human than the humans in this movie. And I think there's a beautiful thing about that. But we see those two humans, I can't remember their names, but the two humans that Wally introduces us to. John and Mary or something like that?
Something like that.
And we see them in the pool and it's like, oh, that's cool. They're relearning what it's like to experience their surroundings. And we see this robot come over and he's like, you're not supposed to be in the pool or whatever. And John tells him like to go away and splashes him. And that robot seems to like short circuit and die. And I was like, given what I've just seen over the past hour, this seems like a terrible tragedy that we're not thinking about more. Like,
yeah.
If he just roboted away, I'd be like, oh, okay. Instead, I was like, that robot probably loved. Like, I was like, oh no.
If he just roboted away.
I also felt really bad for cleaning robot, who was just like, these fucking people.
Mo is the unsung hero of this movie. That's my guy. Mo is my guy. I love
Why?
Mo.
He does save the day, doesn't he?
Yes, he saves the day. He makes sure to he makes sure that like Wally and Eve don't get like sucked out into space.
Right. I like makeup robot who's like, men, they're all the same. You look beautiful. This is great.
No.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of the robot that ends up kicking so much ass in the hallway for them? because I just remember seeing him
he's
cool down,
the
but I was like, what's
massaging
his
robot
job?
that ends up like just like clobbering everybody, and at the end he's like a boxer, like kind of like
You see like the
Yeah.
heavy breathing move. They're like, and I
That's
was
such a
like, oh,
that I love the little details like that. It's like they didn't
So
have
good.
to, but I love that they did.
also, can we talk about why is Eve so shoot first, ask questions later?
She's dedicated to her job. You know, she has a job. She wants to do it. She doesn't want any BS to get in the way. Then you get this little guy, this little trashy guy. He's like, "Hey, I want to show you my stuff." You know, but then he endears himself to her, and that's beautiful. You know, it gives nebbishy guys like me hope.
I have a question in regards to that. Do we think that it is possible that a man can charm a woman with junk? Because
I think it can be
What kind of
possible.
junk?
Yeah, it depends on the junk. Boy.
I would say no.
I will tell you, Giselle is very charmed by my Batman statues.
Okay.
It depends on the junk.
Yeah, no, it depends on the junk. Like if it's like it could be, it's like, oh, you know, it's like I have a whole, like, you know, like a baseball room, like baseball memorabilia, like, okay, you know, that could be charming. But if it's like, you know, hey, check out my Smurf room,
It depends
you know,
what it is, because I feel like
let's just be friends.
there's a lot of male hobbies that are just for men. If I
Yes.
were single, would I be collecting statues of comic book characters? Probably not. But if I had a bunch of, okay, Gab, fuck you and your look. Probably so, but I'd put them away when people came over.
Oh,
But what I would say also
but
is,
since you've trapped one,
you know, if you have exactly, I clobbered her over the head and I dragged her back to my cave. Yes.
Is she okay? Someone should check on her. You know?
She's fine. What I was
She's fine.
going to say is,
Is she?
if your hobby is travel, or if your hobby, well, that's not collecting stuff, is it? Damn. Collecting autographs? No, that's not
Thingamabobs.
cool. I don't know. No, I don't know. If
Who's
there
it
is a
been
cool
before?
junk collection, I don't know it.
I have junk.
Oh, Sal's
that
not
cat
junk.
is not junk.
Yeah.
Sally.
No cat is junk.
So I'll say this. He keeps saying, she goes, Wally. So all weekend it's been Sally. Oh, come back.
Should we get to some facts?
No, because I have one more thing to say.
Whoa, shot me down on the facts. Go ahead.
Have I told my Jeff Garland story on this podcast yet?
Ooh, what's your
No.
Jeff Garland story?
So, there's a comedy club on Long Island in Levittown called Governors. Still, have you been?
Of course.
Great. Okay, Governors. Wonderful. It's a really good place to go and see really famous comics test out new material because it's like just outside of New York City. So they can like drive there, but it's a very small club, so they're not going to get like a lot of business, so to speak. And I've seen a lot of really fucking amazing comics there. I saw Jeff Garland do a set. I saw Jim Gaffigan. I
They've
saw
had Gilbert Gottfried. They've had
Gilbert
Kevin
Godfrey.
James.
Wait, I
They've
saw
had-
Gilbert Godfrey. Did you see Gilbert Godfrey? Because I saw him.
Zach and Allie did.
They must have been there the same night as me, or no? I would have seen
I
them
don't
because
think
it's
so.
such
They
a
have
small
a picture
club.
with him though.
So do I.
Yeah, they saw
Right.
Gilbert Gottfried there. I know David Spade has been there. I think Adam Sandler even.
Pete Davidson, I
okay.
saw. He was fine.
Nice.
But I saw Jeff Garland and he was like, the way that the club is set up, there's like one really big banquet table and then a bunch of small, like 2-seater tables. And I was at a 2-seater table facing him, kind of in the front off to the side. He could definitely see me. And I was sitting there just looking, and he's like in the middle of saying something, and he obviously like forgot what he was going to say or like lost his train of thought. And to recover, he looked at me and he said, "Wow, you are beautiful." And I was like, "Thank you." And he goes, "Do you just stare at yourself in the mirror all day?" And it was the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Jeff Garland, I love you. Fan for life.
Oh, it was just a very specific compliment of Jeff Garland to you?
Yeah.
Well, that must be nice.
He didn't have to say that. It was so kind.
Jeff Garland never compliments me.
Yeah.
You know,
Jim
Jason
Gaffigan.
Segel once gave
so
me
good.
a thumbs up. So that's
Really?
nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So okay. So about it was right 2019 Halloween. I was bearded Captain America from Avengers: Infinity War, and Jason Segel was in Philly filming a TV show. And so I was going up to the city for a Halloween party, and I was walking down around Third and Locust, and I saw Jason Segel walking right up the sidewalk right next to me. And I guess he like looked at my costume and he gave me a thumbs up. That's my story. There's not much else to it. But
I think it's cool. I think I've told before on this podcast that and it used to be such a cool thing that Rudy Giuliani came into my family with my dog once, and we it was great at the time. At the time, this
That
was
story
great.
doesn't age well.
It does not. It's aged like what age is cheese? It's
It
aged like a
like
smelly
him.
cheese. It aged like him.
Yeah. Yep.
The hair dye has run out on that story.
The
Good
brain
one.
juice has ran out.
Yeah. I also
right.
at the same event saw Kelly Ripa, and it's the whitest teeth I've ever seen in my life.
Kelly
Yeah.
Ripa, I used to live right next door to the ABC studio where they film live with, at the time it was Kelly and Ryan. She's so skinny. She's so small.
She grew up in Cherry Hill, which is not far from where I am. So she's
is also-
she's a South Jersey girl, like I am a South Jersey girl.
Of course.
Cherry Hill, also key to Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the main
Great
reason I
mall.
know of Cherry Hill. Now facts?
Fact.
All right, fact me up, mother factor.
I want the truth.
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
Here is not a factor for you. Okay. So on IMDb, it has an 8.4 out of 10. On the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, this might be the highest we've ever seen. It has a 97% with an average rating of 8.6 out of 10, 67 fresh reviews, and 2 rotten. The audience
Who
score
are
is
those two
90%.
people? I want to find them.
I think I probably wrote down the 2 rotten reviews anyway. The audience score is
Okay.
90%, so an average score of 4.3 out of 5. It had a budget of $180 million, and it grossed $521 million. The critics' consensus? WALL-E's stellar visuals testify once again to Pixar's ingenuity, while its charming star will captivate younger viewers, and its timely story offers thought-provoking subtext.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
goes back to what we were saying, that kids won't exactly like clock into like all the implications involving how this like dystopian future and all that, but they'll love the cute robot. So
Got some
come for the
reviews
cute
here.
robot, stay for the existential dread.
Same thing they say at Chuck E. Cheese.
Not anymore.
Yeah, Chuck E. Cheese getting rid of the robot band. Isn't that sad?
I
Roger
know.
Ebert.
What the fuck?
Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars. He said Pixar's WALL-E succeeds at being 3 things at once: an enthralling animated film, a visual wonderment, and a decent science fiction story. Probably in that order.
Yeah, animation's not a genre; it's a medium. But
Oh, so true.
not to
Yeah.
be the again the nerd here. Gab, it's okay. You can beat me up later.
No, I'm into it.
Nigel Andrews from the Financial Times, which, why is the Financial Times reviewing WALL-E? But okay. It is delicious for 30 minutes, then the plot starts. So that's one of the negatives.
Financial Times. Go back to counting money.
David
Honestly.
Anson from Newsweek. You'd have to be a machine for your heart not to melt. And Stephanie Zacharek from Salon.com. The picture feels weirdly and disappointingly disjointed, something that starts out as poetry and ends as product.
That couldn't be more ironic.
That feels like the opposite, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like we were saying, like despite the fact that this is coming at us from like the biggest corporation in the world, it is very anti-capitalism.
And I'm going to just read 2 Letterboxd reviews here. James Trefillis, bold of Disney to finance and release a movie about a mega corporation that destroys the earth, which I feel like goes to what you had said at one point, Mark. And Emma Stefanski, great movie about holding hands.
So true.
It was directed by Andrew Stanton, who also directed Finding Nemo, A Bug's Life, and John Carter. The screenplay is by Andrew Stanton and Jim Reardon, who also wrote Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., Zootopia, and Wreck-It Ralph.
Andrew Stanton, I think, is the most underappreciated of all the Pixar guys. Like, people always talk about, oh, Brad Bird, Pete Docter, who currently I think is the main creative person there now. John Lasseter, Lee Unkrich. No one ever talks about Andrew Stanton, despite the fact that he was one of the key creative people behind a lot of their early stuff. Like he co-wrote the first Toy Story, he co-directed and co-wrote A Bug's Life, co-wrote the screenplay for Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., wrote and directed Finding Nemo, and then he co-wrote the screenplay for Toy Story 4. So like he's been involved with like a lot of their stuff. Like he is a genuinely talented guy that really deserves his due. I think he deserves another shot. In fact, Gab, I know you're a big Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the main people behind the Obi-Wan Kenobi series for Disney Plus.
Oh.
Yeah, he co-wrote the last 2 episodes of that. He's like on my like list of like of directors that I really want to see work with Marvel on something. Like I just his pedigree mixed with like the Marvel team would just be amazing. Like in fact, he was my main pick for who should make the new Fantastic Four. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, continue with facts.
The movie, it's hard to say who stars the movie, but the movie stars Ben Burt as the voice of Wally, I'll say. Wally doesn't have an actual voice, but he creates every sound of Wally. He's worked as a sound designer on Up, everything Star Wars, Star Trek 2009, and so much more. If you look up Ben Burt, he's one of the biggest names I feel like in sound design.
He is the name in sound design.
Yes.
Yeah, like he started out obviously with Star Wars. He was mainly like a Lucasfilm guy, but then he's created almost every like major sound you've ever heard in a movie. Like anything you've heard, it's him. He came up with the lightsaber sound by tapping like highway lines and stuff like that. He created the Darth Vader breathing sound with like a scuba breathing thing. So
there's a very cool behind the scenes talking about the sound of Wally, and you get to hear him talk about it. Very interesting. One of those jobs in film that, animation, there's something impressive about the fact that you forget that somebody has to create every single thing you're seeing. You know what I mean? Everything you're seeing and hearing is created. And sound particularly is a very interesting thing there. The movie also stars Elisa Knight as the voice of Eve, and she was also Tia in Cars, but not much of an actress. I think she also just works at Pixar. Jeff Garlin obviously was in the movie, Fred Willard, which very interesting to have those live action moments in the animated movie.
No, I think this is like the first Pixar movie to have any semblance of live action footage.
Yeah.
Which is like you wouldn't have really like that. That's something that they've never done before, and they haven't really experimented with that much even since. Which makes Wall-E all the more again stand out the most among their catalog.
We also have Sigourney Weaver as the voice of the ship's computer.
Yep. Which
they remarked to her while she was recording that she finally gets to turn Alien on its head. She gets to be that bitch computer.
Yeah.
Kathy Najimy is the voice of Mary from Hocus Pocus and King of the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And John Ratzenberger is the voice of John, who you may know from Cheers, and he was Ham in Toy Story, and he's been in, I think, still every Pixar project?
Almost all of them.
Isn't he dead?
No, he's not dead.
Don't you put that evil on him.
Sorry, excuse me. Who's dead?
I don't know. Lots of people,
one of
most of humanity.
One of the guys from Toy Story died like in the past 10 years or so.
Don Rickles, you're probably thinking of.
Don Rickles, who was the voice of
Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head.
Mrs. Potato Head, also sadly deceased.
Mrs. Potato Head, her name is something Harris. Estelle Harris. Do you know she went to our temple?
No.
Really?
Yes.
Also, George
she went to
Costanza's
our
mother.
temple. Yes.
Yeah,
My mom says it all the time. She went to, am I allowed to say what the name of the temple we went to? She went to Suburban Temple. And I think the rabbi once said that she was a pocketbook with lips.
Wow.
Okay.
I believe that's a true story. At least that's how I remember my mother telling me. But yeah, she's
some extra ears and your angry eyes, just in case.
Estelle Harris. Yep, she died at 93. She was from Hell's Kitchen, New York, and Nassau County. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Suburban Temple, baby. What's up?
All right. WALL-E also won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. If
Yeah,
one
it was
artist,
nominated. Sorry if I'm interrupting the facts, but it was nominated for 2 other things: Best Original Screenplay and Best Original Song, "Down to Earth," which played in the credits, performed by Peter Gabriel, which should have won in hindsight. I think
do you
it
know what
lost
did
to,
win?
the song from Slumdog Millionaire.
Oh, it totally
which-
should not have won. I can
which-
still say I
which-
can Jai-Ho right now, and I
Yeah.
already do not remember
look,
the song from WALL-E.
any song that then gets immediately covered by the Pussycat Dolls does not deserve an Oscar. Sorry, Gab.
Why are you saying sorry to me?
I don't know.
Do I look like a pussycat doll sympathizer?
Jai-Ho.
I don't know. I'm sorry
No.
for assuming.
Yeah.
Jai-Ho was wonderful. I will fight and die on that hill.
I've never seen Slumdog Millionaire.
What?
Down to Earth is literally one of my favorite songs of all time. Like I listened to that song almost on repeat for a good 6 months when I was like 13. So,
Well, that's awesome. I waited on Peter Gabriel once he came into the restaurant I worked at.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, he was nice. He tipped well.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'd be very sad if he didn't.
Yeah. Who do you like better, Peter Gabriel or Phil Collins?
Ooh.
I like Peter Gabriel's voice better, but I like the music of Genesis slightly better. No. I don't know. I don't know.
Phil
You
Collins.
mean you like Peter Gabriel's voice more, but you prefer like the sound of Genesis post Peter Gabriel.
I think there's more Genesis Phil Collins songs that I like, but if I was just listening to the two of them sing, I would prefer Peter Gabriel.
That's
I like
fair.
Phil Collins better.
That's fair. I like them both, but
Yeah, why do I have to pick?
Because
you can be be the little girl in those taco shells commercials. Why not?
Why not both?
Okay.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah.
If one artist worked on WALL-E and was able to do all of the shots, it would take 442 years. Yeah. Ben Burt recorded 2,500 different sounds for the movie, twice the average of a Star Wars movie,
Wow.
and also the most that Ben Burt has ever recorded for one feature film. His involvement with the film lasted for 2 years. When Andrew Stanton met with him to pitch the idea of working on the film, he told him, "I need you to be 80% of my cast."
That sounds about right.
In 2021, WALL-E was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
And it is. At least I think so.
Along with Clerks, which I remember we talked
yes.
about as well.
Oh yeah, Clerks is in there. I should go through that list of movies and that are listed under the National Film Registry that you guys talked about. I'm sure Die Hard is in there somewhere.
It's hundreds of movies, yeah.
Yeah.
And the last thing, I'm going to shorten up the story, but the man who was responsible for the songs for Hello Dolly, Jerry Herman, allowed his songs to be used in the film without fully realizing how or why. When he saw how they worked in the film, he claimed it was genius on Andrew Stanton's part, because he was giving it to this movie about a robot. Like, I imagine I'd be like, what the fuck are you using the Hello Dolly songs for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
Also, I don't know if you mentioned, and I don't know if it's mentioned in the trivia, but Jeff Garlin, this isn't the only Pixar movie he's in. He was the voice of Trixie, the unicorn, in Toy Story 3 and 4.
Which Toy Story 4 I didn't love, and I think it's a mistake that they're making a Toy Story 5.
Wait, there was a Toy Story 4?
Yes.
It's fine. To me, it's the worst of the four.
It's Toy Story. It's always worth watching.
I didn't even know such a thing existed.
I don't want to start diluting it, although I do love Forky.
Yes, Forky's great. Forky's great.
There was a little boy who came up to me and Giselle once in Target in one of the aisles, and he had a little fucking spork, and he just held it up to me and went, "Forky." And I imagine his mother came and went, "Get away from those strangers. What are you doing?" But for a second, I was like, "We'll take him."
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's all the facts I got. The last one I'll say is the captain is incapable of wearing the original captain's uniform, so he just wears it around his neck with the top button like a tiny little cape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And he gets up to the sounds of 2001: Space Odyssey. Love that. Love that scene so much. Mwah, chef's kiss.
All
Should
right,
we head
Dill.
straight into the verdicts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence is death.
All right, so let's get to the verdicts. I feel like the obvious one to go first. Mark, this is your movie. You go first. Say your piece. Is this a movie to watch before you die?
All right. So yes, I do think Wall-E is a movie to watch before you die. I mean, look, all of Pixar movies are movies to watch before you die, but this one I think is slightly even above that. I think Wall-E is, I think, one of their all-time best. It's incredibly enthralling. The animation is beautiful. The characters are really likable. I think that like I said before, the older that you get, the more you really start to appreciate the themes and the messaging, which never felt preachy. It's an amazing movie. I love Wall-E so much. It's terrific. I think I would even put it in Pixar's top 5 best overall. It's wonderful. I love I don't know, we haven't really talked about that much, but the music, the score by Thomas Newman is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, no, this is a terrific movie. Absolutely movies to watch before you die. Movies to watch. It is a movie. I cannot speak. I am out of words. Yeah.
This is a good movie. And that's about all I have to say about it. I thought it was a little bit of a bummer. I definitely, when I watched it when I was 16 in the movie theaters, I was a little disappointed that it didn't really have a lot of, it felt like it was lacking substance because I was 16. And now, as a 32-year-old, almost, I can say it does not lack substance at all. However, it wasn't the single most entertaining movie I've ever seen. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Am I craving a rewatch? No. Do I think it's a movie to watch before you die? Yeah.
Okay.
It was kind of a bummer.
So soft yes.
Soft yes. It's definitely a yes. I don't think I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch this again.
That's fair. That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mark.
That's a lot better than
Dylan.
no, which is what I
No,
thought.
yeah.
I thought that's where you were going there.
No.
I'm going to read you the last note that I wrote.
Okay.
Well, I'll read the first note first. I went to the dump today, and this feels very reminiscent of the opening, just mountains of trash. But now I'll go to my last note. Fucking delightful. No notes. I love this movie. There's not a moment of this movie that I don't enjoy in one way or another, whether it's just beautifully animated, or I'm enjoying the characters, or I'm laughing, or I'm enjoying the subtext. I think I watched this movie, I think one time before this only, and it was the first time I'd seen it. I remember thinking that movie was amazing. You know what I mean? And having rewatched it, I was like, am I going to be let down? Like, was I wrong when I was younger? And rewatching it, I was like, no, that's a great movie. And it's one of those ones that it is a pretty open and closed story, so you don't revisit it all the time. But it is definitely great, and I'm definitely glad to say it is a movie to watch before you die.
Hands down. I agree. I just want to clarify. I loved it.
Gab, you hate it, and we hate you for it, but that's okay.
Yeah. Listen, I thought it was a piece of
it.
shit. No, I loved it. It wasn't, it didn't move me, but I love it. It's like, there are people that love Star Wars. They don't define themselves by it, but they love it. And they don't look for it, but they love it. I feel the same way. This is great. It is undeniably a beautiful piece of art. I'm not probably going to turn it on the next time there's a rainy day, but I do love it.
No, that's okay. That's totally
acceptable.
Thank you.
All right. I guess now we say the things that we say at the end of this. Mark, do you have anything you want to pitch or spotlight or whatever?
Plug.
That's I forget that word.
You clearly.
Well, I guess in terms of plugging, I actually do have a YouTube channel. I have not posted anything new on it in over 2 years, mainly just because of a lot of stuff that's been going on. But I'm trying to get something new done within the next month. But if you're, not patient enough, you can follow me on Instagram at Marc_Francisco_Aquino, on Twitter at QuietTimeAquino, and I'm also sort of on TikTok. I believe my username is it's Marc Aquino. And I also have a Snapchat, which, funny enough, is walking IMDb, which I am. I have facts too, Dylan, just so you know.
Of course you do.
Did you guys hear that they're coming out with a Pop Culture Jeopardy?
No.
Because this is how I win. Like, this is my uncut gems. This is how I win moment.
Yes.
This is the only way I'm ever retiring. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm facing off you with that, Dylan. We're going head to head.
I'll see you there, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. A young person recently told me that Snapchat is dead.
You sound so old just from saying a young person.
I know. Mark, do you deny this?
I mean, it's not dead. It's just not as popular as it would have been like 5 years ago. So
yeah, it's gone by the way of the MySpace. But I will say this: I have it because A, the filters are great, and B, the camera is a little more forgiving. So if I'm feeling ugly, instead of taking a selfie on my regular camera, I do it on Snapchat, and I feel less bad about myself.
When it's not a Jeff Garland day.
Exactly. Yeah. When Jeff Garland wouldn't stop dead in his tracks.
Yeah.
All right. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. If you are interested in giving us your feedback, you can send it to movies-to-watch-before-you-die@gmail.com. You can send a voice note at movies-to-watch anchor.fm/movies-to-watch. You can find us on Instagram independently or on our Instagram, which has a lot of underscores. You can go to the link tree and find our friends from the podcasting hall of Dylan, help me.
The Hall of Pods podcasting network. There's a link tree below for them. There's a link tree below for us with links to our various things like Gab's new clothing line, Strength Code Fitness,
my Venmo,
her Venmo,
yeah.
and all of our other links that are worthwhile.
Yes.
There is no greater cause to donate to than Gab's Venmo.
It's so true.
That doesn't seem right.
I'm dying over here. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next week when we do something else.
Thanks, Mark.
Eva.